All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting back to order. Nevada Board of Wildlife Commissioners, we'll start back with 18F. Again, informational report on sage grouse update, Secretary Wasley. Secretary Wasley will provide an update on the status of sage grouse.
A couple things. I have some preliminary information from the wing bee that I can kind of go over real quick. Eastern Region game biologists have spent considerable effort in placing wing barrows in strategic locations to collect hunter-harvested sage grouse wings. Units 076, 079, 081, and 152 were open last year to sage grouse hunting, but were closed this year due to poor performing populations. The number of wings collected within the region was 632, which represented a 13% increase over the number collected last year, but was 44% lower than the record number of wings collected in 2005. Only 29 wings were collected from the O'Neill and Snake units in 2014. In contrast, 250 wings were collected from those two units in 2005. The number of wings collected in White Pine County was double of what it was last year and was 53% higher than the number collected in 2005. 2014 wings will be analyzed soon to determine chick production and nest success. 133 sage grouse wings have been collected to date from White Pine units. The previous modern day high count was 107 wings received in 2010. Compared to 2013, data from wing envelopes show a 52% more hunters, substantially higher hunter days, 77% more birds harvested, and 81% more birds observed. The Butte Buck White Pine unit accounted for 82% of the wings received in the Eastern region. 18 wings received this year from the Shell Antelope unit were up 450% from last year's sample. No wings were received from the Steptoe Cave unit, and the current sample from White Pine units contains 1.3 chicks per hen. Last year's final total sample was 66 wings with 2.1 chicks per hen. Warm, dry weather during most of this year's season probably contributed more towards the higher harvest than the 3 consecutive years of positive population trend. So that's some preliminary data. There will be the wing bee, and we'll certainly include the results from that the future commission meeting. The planning efforts for the greater continue with the state's adoption of the integrated population model. The map of sage grouse distribution in Nevada has been declared complete. It's an ongoing process that'll constantly evolve as we acquire new data, but the state has declared the conservation credit system open for business. So presently the BLM is working with the state and including key components of the state's plan as part of the BLM's EIS. Probably the single most critical component of the state's plan being the conservation credit system. Recently, the Gunnison sage grouse population in Colorado was listed as threatened. A lot of folks pretty discouraged by that. Colorado feels as though they've done about everything that they possibly can to ensure protection of that population into the future. They believe they've got about 95% of that habitat protected by long-term conservation easements. The population, the Gunnison population is very similar to our bi-state population that we share with California in size. Some of the threats are also similar, but we're still awaiting the decision from the service on whether or not that population is determined by them to need listing for its protection. We're optimistic that it doesn't. There are some differences between the bi-state and the Gunnison population. Largely the action plan that the local area working groups and the bi-state technical team have assembled, and then the $46 million of financial commitment made by all the federal and state agencies towards implementation of that action plan. I will have the opportunity to meet with the Fish and Wildlife Service next week and this will be one of the items that we discuss with them. So again, I remain optimistic that we have a very proven track record towards conservation in that area. We have a action plan that the service has already deemed adequate if implemented, and we demonstrated a financial commitment of in excess of $45 million towards the implementation of that action plan. So we would expect to hear something probably in the next 5 to 6 months from the service on whether or not they believe that population needs to be protected via listing, but we're optimistic that we've met the bar and that will preclude the need to list on that population. With that, I'd ask Chairman Drew if he has anything to add.
I think Tony did a good job covering the state issues. One thing that I will bring up that's related to sage grouse is we've had a couple of informal meetings on what's being called the Reed-Heller bill. The two Nevada senators are looking at the potential of introducing a bill. At this point, it's what they call a discussion draft, so it's not formally introduced legislation. But essentially, there's a couple main components. One main component would be designation of wilderness areas, kind of in the name of protecting sage grouse. You can take that for what it is. Another component would be conveyance of certain qualified lands to qualified entities. For the most part, it would be mining companies' requests for lands to go from public ownership to private ownership at fair market value. And the concept on that is that those sales would generate a pot of money that could then come back to sage grouse conservation projects. I think various aspects of the bill have some serious ramifications both for sportsmen and for wildlife, and we wanted to make sure that our delegation folks understood that. If you're on a county advisory board and you haven't heard about the Reed-Heller bill, I would encourage you strongly to look into it, because some of the county commissions have been interacting with the delegation in regards to both the wilderness and the land conveyances and the land sale portions of this. If the bill gets introduced, and we've been told that it may actually be formally introduced in December, I would like to have a meeting on it, or at least have it on our agenda at the next meeting, because it's a pretty serious bill when you look at it from a sportsman and a wildlife standpoint, and general public for that matter, given the conversion of some of our public lands to private ownership. So just something to kind of keep on the radar at this point. We'll see how things play out and if it gets introduced in December. So any questions in regards to either Secretary Wadsley's report or the legislation that I just mentioned? Hearing none, I will close 18F and we'll move into 18G, Department Activity Report. Again, Secretary Wadsley and Director Wadsley will provide a report on recent department activities.
Thank you, Chairman. As I indicated yesterday with our project update agenda item, for the last 6 to 8 months, we've tried to include more detailed department activity reports. It seems like we spend a disproportionate amount of our time on a small number of the issues that the department deals with. So I think having the opportunity to bring staff in to share some project updates like we did yesterday with the chat, and like we've done at the recent commission meetings, provides not only the commission but the county advisory boards an opportunity to hear about some of the other things that we're doing that they might not be aware of. So that's a roundabout way of apologizing for a detailed, lengthy department activity report that I'm going to go into now, and certainly at its conclusion, if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to try to entertain them. From the Director's Office, looking at some capital improvement projects, the State Public Works Board approved the Las Vegas Regional Office for a new HVAC replacement for the fiscal 2016-17 biennium. All other requests were denied. That includes the Overton office expansion and shop, Ely office expansion. Facility leases, Overton office lease is in the final stages of negotiation between State Buildings and Grounds and Mod Space. As you may or may not recall, we had a leased modular office out there, a trailer basically, that had an electrical fire and was a total loss, and so we've been trying to replace that so that we have somewhere for staff to office down there. In the arena of fleet management, we're currently reviewing potential vendors for some fleet management tools. We recently had an audit that we're trying to address some exceptions within that audit. With a staff of 250 scattered all over the state, we have vehicles from wildlife management areas to remote offices, and we're currently looking at ways to increase the efficiency and some of the record keeping. We're looking at some fleet solutions, some GPS-based solutions, and some basic software packages. We're looking at mileage and maintenance efficiency. We're reviewing options to pool headquarter vehicles and use leased vehicles for seasonals. Basically, what we're really trying to achieve is a net reduction in the size of the fleet, an increase efficiency and utilization, and reduce maintenance and replacement costs. We're scheduled to replace approximately 5% of our fleet per year, FY 2015 through 17. So every full-time field position is personally assigned a vehicle. We'll have a reasonably new vehicle, but we'll be modernizing our fleet while simultaneously downsizing. We recognize that we have some redundancies at headquarters where vehicles have been assigned either to divisions or in some instances individuals, and we have an absence or certainly a lack of high mileage type vehicles, high mile per gallon efficient vehicles. So by attending a meeting in Elko or Ely at midsummer where four-wheel drive wouldn't necessarily be needed, we could benefit through using motor pool or leasing some kind of a small high mile per gallon vehicle. Dream Tag program, we were recently contacted by LCB that expressed some concerns in administration of the Dream Tag raffle ticket funds and exactly where those funds, how that application is being administered through the application hunt system, and separation of the funds from the department and the foundation. We have some meetings upcoming to address that in early December with LCB, systems consultants, the Dream Tag Foundation, and the legislative sponsor to address some of those concerns and see if there's a remedy there. Some habitat improvement projects within the game division. Crews continue with progress on a large-scale habitat improvement project on Spruce Mountain in Elko County that will target 700 acres of pinyon juniper to enhance understory and rejuvenate shrub communities on mule deer winter range. There are some low density of sage grouse in the area, but the primary beneficiary of this effort is mule deer. We have some elk depredation hunts over in White Pine County. Late September, we were notified that elk use had resumed on some ag fields. Special notices were sent to over 30 hunters for an October hunt. Midway through the hunt, Spotlight Check documented 40 plus elk using the ag field. It's located just across the state line in Utah. The ag field is, but the animals are coming back into Nevada. Emergency depredation antlerless hunt has been initiated with 15 tags for an October 24th to November 9th season. The situation will be monitored in case a second emergency hunt is needed. If use by elk is still occurring in late November, notices will be sent to the late season, December 5th to January 15, antlerless tag holders, informing them of the opportunity to harvest. Chronic wasting disease collection, sampling of mule deer and elk has been ongoing primarily in Las Vegas with the assistance of Moles Meats. In the eastern region, letters were sent to a subset of antlerless deer hunters in Area 10, 1,000 tag holders there, and to a subset of antlerless elk hunters in the unit group 076 through 081 in the northeast corner, 375 tag holders, asking them to drop their deer or elk heads off at the Elko office for CWD sampling. Only 3 deer heads and no elk heads were brought in during the 20-day period of open seasons. A new project was established to collect deer teeth samples from hunters that harvested animals in select unit groups throughout Nevada. The teeth will be sent to a tooth aging lab for analysis, which will aid in population modeling and harvest recommendations in the future. During the week of October 13th, we conducted bighorn disease surveillance and bighorn sheep dispersal monitoring, primarily movements of the rams among herds and various herds from Lake Mead to Battle Mountain. 11 herds were sampled involving 76 animals. Our helicopter net gun contractor, Native Range, Inc., did the work. The Muddy Mountains was sampled to reaffirm that the population has not yet been exposed to Mycoplasma ovinomiae. Excuse me. One of the primary pathogens that's involved in causing the pneumonia. This herd provided 72 desert bighorn sheep for Utah in November. The bulk of the disease surveillance was conducted along the California border within Esmeralda and Mineral counties that are part of 2 large bighorn sheep metapopulations comprising 10 herds. The pathogen has already been detected in 3 of the 10 herds. The concern is this pathogen may be spread to other herds by wandering bighorn, likely young rams. The disease surveillance goal is to inventory certain pathogens, compare adult survival and lamb recruitment in each herd, and better understand the potential spread of the pathogens amongst the herds by natural movement of bighorn sheep. Update on the 2014 bear hunt. To this point, 14 bears have been taken, 8 males and 6 females. Of that 14, 6 ear-tagged bears have been taken. 11 of the 14 have been taken with use of dogs. That brings the total, with this being the 4th year of the hunt, the total number of bears removed thus far has been 53. And the gender makeup is 37 males and 16 females. The Fisheries Division, fall monitoring on Lake Mojave has indicated unusually high striped bass recruitment through the summer, with hundreds of young of the year striped bass seen in the back coves and large numbers of threadfin shad, unusual for Mojave. It's very good news after several years of poor bass condition and recruitment. Construction at Jigs Reservoir is almost totally complete. We should be able to begin filling the newly deepened reservoir this winter, assuming we get a winter. The improvement project at Boulder Reservoir in northern Washoe County is also essentially complete, with the reservoir now refilled, and fish stocking occurred October 15th. BLM will be completing final site improvements over the next several months, including visitor amenities, revegetation using native plants. All recent AIS samples for South Fork Wild Horse and Wilson Sink have come back negative for quagga and zebra mussels. We're reasonably convinced that mussel DNA detections earlier this year were probably from contamination, not live mussels, and monitoring has concluded for this year. The vessel inspection station at South Fork is now closed, and we'll resume that again next spring as a precaution. Myself and Fisheries Chief John Schoberg met with Fish and Wildlife Service and the Pyramid Lake Paiute Tribe in October to discuss future cooperation on LCT management and recovery in the Truckee River. Fall 2014 Devil's Hole pup fish counts have been completed with an estimate of 107 adult fish. Not spectacular, but a significant increase over the fall 2013 estimate of 65. Several rounds of severe flooding have affected the upper Muddy River and Overton areas in September. A storm event around midnight on September 26 recorded 1.67 inches of rain in 45 minutes at Warm Springs, and the Moapa USGS gauge peaked at almost 6,000 CFS. The number of restored habitats for the endangered Moapa dace were significantly altered, but several downstream fish barriers were largely undamaged. The Habitat Division, Bald Mountain Mine draft EIS should be released for public review the 1st or 2nd week of December. We've engaged significantly with the mine and BLM in its development. The Steptoe Wildlife Management Area residence is nearing completion. Las Vegas RMP is under review with an extension being requested. We're dealing with multiple sage grouse requests from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service data call. Basically, there's 2 components to that data call. The part that we're currently working on is population status, trends, and threats. We have a number of active pinyon juniper removal projects occurring across the state. Holmes Creek, Patterson Pass, Pine Nuts, Bass Canyon, and the aforementioned Spruce Mountain. Coordination with land management agencies in preparation for wildfire rehab efforts continues. This weekend, a volunteer seedling planting project is occurring on the Spring Peak Fire with approximately 25,000 bitterbrush and sagebrush plants being planted. And the Wildlife Diversity Division continuing to coordinate and work with Fish and Wildlife Service, BLM, Clark County, and the Animal Foundation for proper disposition and responsible management of unwanted pet tortoises in Clark County. We recently submitted comments for the proposed designation of critical habitat for the western yellow-billed cuckoo. U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service recently listed the bird as threatened and is proposing to designate 546,000 acres of critical habitat in the western distinct population segment and 80 separate units in Arizona, California, Colorado, Idaho, Nevada, New Mexico, Texas, Utah, and Wyoming. Eastern region personnel attended a white nose syndrome. That's a fungus affecting bats meeting. This was a meeting supported by the Fish and Wildlife Service to disseminate latest information relating to the spread of this fungal disease in bats. Although white nose syndrome has not yet spread to the western U.S., in some eastern states the disease has nearly eliminated 3 species of bats and infected 4 additional species. We will participate in this next year in 2 nationwide efforts on surveillance of bats related to the spread of white nose syndrome. You saw the presentation on chat yesterday. The Wildlife Diversity Division continues to enhance that product and is currently working with the Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies and the Western Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies for long-term hosting of that product. The Operations Division, our Air Operations Program will transition from the Operations Division to the Game Division. Oversight of the department's Air Operations Program, which is supported by 2 agency pilots flying 2 Bell Jet Ranger helicopters and a single-engine Cessna airplane, will transition from the Operations Division to the Game Division by July of 2015. The department's 2 pilots with limited pilot support from the Nevada Division of Forestry flew in excess of 1,100 hours in FY14, mostly in support of wildlife surveys for the Game and Diversity Divisions. The Air Operations Program has been under the Operations Division since 2005 and previously existed under the Game Division. Statewide boating education coordinator from Law Enforcement Division, Ed Lingard, took home the National Educator of the Year Award at the National Boating Safety Conference in Maine. Ed Lingard was hired as Nevada's first full-time boating education coordinator in 2002 and implemented Nevada's mandatory boating education law in 2003. In addition to his education duties, Lingard handles public information for our Division of Law Enforcement. Candidates for the award are selected from all 50 states and 6 U.S. territories. Finalists are chosen from 3 regions to compete for the national honor at the National Association of Safe Boating Law Administrators Conference. And the award is sponsored by BoaterExam.com, a company that offers online boating education. New hire game warden testing took place on October 22nd in Las Vegas and October 27th in Reno. 108 applicants applied and met the minimum standards for the application process that closed on September 26th. Approximately 75 of the applicants RSVP'd for the testing process, and just over 50 actually came to the testing. From this 50, we've selected 28 to interview in an attempt to fill 7 game warden position openings in Battle Mountain, Winnemucca, Fallon, Eureka, Tonopah, and Boulder City. 2 game warden trainees hired earlier this year are scheduled to graduate from Southern Desert Regional Police Academy on December 18th. Once finished with field training, Tyrell Brown will patrol from Ely, and Casey Humphreys will be stationed in Boulder City. Big game hunting seasons are in full swing around the state, due in part to the large number of vacancies around the state. And Law Enforcement Division game wardens are inundated with calls and investigations. We've opened 94 case numbers generated from calls to the Operation Game Thief hotline since the Any Weapon Antelope season opened on August 22nd. In recent years, we've seen a sharp increase in the self-reported accidental big game kills. These include antlered big game killed with antlerless tags and multiple animals killed on one tag. Several factors may be contributing to this trend, including the proliferation of large numbers of antlerless tags in recent years, improving hunter ethics to self-report the incidents, and the recent trend toward long-range shooting causing hunters to shoot beyond ethical yardages. Human-wildlife conflict calls continue to come in large numbers around urban interface areas. Sierra Front black bears and Reno Vegas coyotes are at the center of this issue. The seasonal hire of Cooper Munson and the Game Division to assist the bear biologists with bear calls continues to ease the pressure on regional staff and game wardens. Eastern Region wardens and biologists conducted a voluntary wildlife checkpoint on October 5th near Highway 50 west of Ely. This resulted in 35 sportsman contacts with 6 violations detected. These 6 violations resulted in 1 citation and 5 warnings for tag violations. 1 contact involved an individual suspected to be involved with a felony big game case in 2013. That investigation is ongoing now that the suspect has been identified. Washoe County Game Warden Ian Knight was a lucky recipient of a Warden Exchange program from this summer's convention at the North American Wildlife Enforcement Officers Association, NOWIA. Ian Knight was hosted by the Ontario Ministry of Natural Resources and traveled to Ontario, Canada for 10 days of patrolling this fall with Ontario conservation officers. Ian patrolled some moose seasons, checked some monster trout, and learned some new Canadian speech accents from his host. Ian's travel was paid for through that North American Wildlife Enforcement Officers Association. Eastern Region wardens are looking into several reports of illegal hunting activities, including night hunting, party hunting, chasing elk with ATVs, taking in excess of deer, taking a large trophy mule deer in the Great Basin National Park, and illegal take of a trophy bighorn sheep. Eastern Region wardens have investigated approximately 15 waste of big game calls this fall and several mistaken kills, four mistaken kill calls just in the last week. Eastern Region wardens investigated a report of a mountain lion illegally harvested in the Rubies. 2 officers traveled to Winnemucca to conduct an interview and received a full verbal and written confession. Southern Region wardens are working on several big game investigations. One of these includes unlawfully killing multiple animals in wrong units, fraudulently obtaining tags and licenses, and illegally possessed and purchased firearms. A second Southern Region investigation is still underway regarding non-residents unlawfully guiding in Nevada, with multiple animals killed on these illegal hunts. A third Southern Region investigation has identified a suspect who has unlawfully obtained multiple resident big game tags from 2007 to present as a non-resident. Southern Region wardens have been receiving reports of doe deer heads left in the field. Wardens believe some of these instances may be due to confusion over what is required for hunters to maintain evidence of sex. One regulation states that when sexual characteristics are determining factors, hunters may not disguise sexual characteristics of the animals. A different regulation states that the cape, scalp, and any antlers or horns must be possessed with the carcass of the animal until consumed, processed, etc., as required by state statute. With the large number of antlerless and youth either sex tags, we may need to clarify and or combine these 2 regulations at some point in the future. Conservation Education Division, in partnership with Law Enforcement Division, teamed up to create a new weekly hour-long radio program and podcast designed to take an in-depth look at issues impacting wildlife in NDOW. The program features news, information, and comprehensive interviews with staff and guests about matters related to hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, species management, outdoor safety, and a host of other topics. The program, entitled Nevada Wild, is available everywhere via streaming at www.nevadawild.org and is available in northern Nevada via broadcast signal through KXNV 89.1 FM, a new community outreach radio station. Regional volunteer coordinators have been recruited volunteers for 2 major projects, planting sagebrush and bitterbrush seedlings in northwestern Nevada in the Bodie Hills, as previously mentioned yesterday and today. The project's part of the restoration from the Spring Creek fire from last year. Planting seedlings will help jumpstart the vegetation recovery in this area and will benefit sage grouse, mule deer, and other wildlife. The annual volunteer sagebrush seed collection will occur Saturday, November 22nd in the eastern region. After being collected, sagebrush seed is cleaned, dried, and mixed with other species of seed appropriate for the area. Staff has been responding to inquiries from reporters on wolves in Nevada. The inquiries are follow-ups from a news release from the Center for Biological Diversity that indicates Nevada has significant unoccupied wolf habitat. Conservation Education has worked with the Game Division to provide reporters with information regarding NDOW's position on wolves in Nevada. Conservation Education Division continues to work with other NDOW division staff to coordinate the Western Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies midwinter and summer conferences. The midwinter meeting will be held in Vegas January 8th through the 11th, and the summer meeting will be held in Reno, Peppermill, July 16th through the 23rd, I believe. Plans are underway for the annual outdoor education instructor recognition function in January and February. These events are designed as appreciation for hunter education and angler education volunteers. These volunteers are presented with their 10-year awards. Commissioners are invited to attend these events that are held throughout the regions. And lastly, the Con Ed division took the regional fish stocking report pages on the website and they rebuilt those to be more user-friendly, listing the fish stocking reports. They're broken out by region and by water. Yesterday, there was a public comment from Las Vegas requesting that during the department activity report that there be some kind of an update on the video conferencing and the long-term plan. I think that that's been addressed by the commission, and I think that what we will continue to do is as we meet in areas where, like this, where we have the opportunity to take advantage of existing infrastructure, we'll continue to do so, but with the desire to still have meetings in some of the rurals that opportunity may not always exist. Our next meeting is in February in Las Vegas, and at this time it's not known whether or not we'll be able to provide that service. We're currently exploring a couple options, and we'll see what we can turn up. At that, I'll turn it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Secretary Wasley. I know that's a mouthful, but I know I appreciate the detailed report, and I think it gives us a good idea of where you guys have been since the last meeting. So, any questions for Tony before we close that item? Seeing none, I'll close agenda item 18G. Move to agenda item 18H, litigation report, Deputy Attorney General Terry Ward.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Deputy Attorney General Terry Ward. Just want to give you a little update on the litigation report, item number 9, and that's the Moldy Smith matter. Plaintiffs brought action against the Nevada Wildlife Commission as an NDOW for declaratory injunctive relief regarding the recently promulgated trapping regulation. Plaintiffs assert the regulation is void and unenforceable. Plaintiffs moved for injunctive relief, requesting the court to enjoin the 2014-15 trapping season and enforcement of the trapping visitation regulation. Plaintiffs assert that the enabling statute, NRS 503.570, is unconstitutional and is a violation of the separation of powers doctrine. This matter has been set for plaintiff's motion for injunctive relief this Thursday, November 20th, 2 o'clock here in Reno. Thank you.
Any questions of Mr. Ward before I close that agenda item? Okay. Seeing none, we will move out of agenda item 18H to agenda item 19, future commission meetings and commission committee assignments. Secretary Tony Wasley and Chairman Drew for possible action. The next commission meeting is scheduled for February 6 and 7, 2015 in Las Vegas. The commission will review and discuss potential agenda items for that meeting. The commission may change the time and meeting location. At this time, the chairman may designate and adjust committee assignments as necessary at this meeting. So maybe I'll start on the back end of this and work forward to give Secretary Wasley a minute to take a deep breath after his report. I have looked at the committee assignments. I've got a few outstanding phone calls. I think I've talked to most of the commissioners on committee assignments. So if you have a committee assignment and you're in this room and haven't talked to me yet, let's try and do that by the conclusion of the meeting. I will try and have all committees updated and set before the next meeting. Check with my vice chair on that to make sure we're not overloading anyone and we have a good spread on the assignment. So that's where committees sit at this point. I think I provided an update on the BEAR update, committee updates yesterday. So that's where we sit as far as committee assignments go. I don't think there's a reason to necessarily set or change the next meeting dates in Las Vegas. Obviously, the specific venue is still up in the air a little bit with Tony's action report. If you've enjoyed the last two brief meetings we've had, don't get too comfortable with that because I have a feeling February is going to be busy. We do have Tony's season setting, I believe, in February.
Yep.
And just from the list that I've got, and this doesn't necessarily all have to be at the next meeting, elk arbitration process, Commissioner Johnston mentioned, probably not something we'll get to in February, but something to keep on our agenda. We will have the Black Bear comprehensive review in February. We'll be on the verge of starting the legislative session, so we may have a committee meeting on that. I mentioned season setting. One thing that Director Wazley, I'd like to work with you and game staff on is some sort of update on all the new elk hunts that occurred going into that, and we can discuss whether that makes sense at a committee level or at the commission level. We had 3 regulations that were workshopped and advanced today that may or may not be on the agenda, depending on what it looks like in terms of time. Those are the ones that I had on my list. Director Wazley, do you have any additional items that I missed?
Was there a predator plan? Was Commission Policy 23 dictate that we had something in February?
Looking at Commissioner Bliss.
No, I believe, as far as a committee meeting, no, I think committee meeting would be in March.
I'll double check that as well.
Yeah, I think the primary item is going to be the season setting and certainly the review of the Black Bear comprehensive review report, and we can discuss evaluating the questionnaire data on some of those elk harvest strategies that were new this year to see if we need to make further accommodations with some of the hunt structures.
Okay. This is an action item, but before I take it out for public comment, is there any discussion from the board? Commissioner Lane.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Since we're going to be doing season setting, I would like for us to at least take a look at the issues that we're seeing in terms of the higher temperatures. Certainly we've seen those down in southern Nevada this year where we're running 90-degree weather through October, and it just seems to me if we're going to be doing season setting, what we probably, particularly for the next 2 years, maybe one of the things we need to look at, we've done that with some respect in terms of the turkey hunts, but I think we need to try to address some of these issues, and it looks like we've got some work that's been done in terms of the chat databases. So I think we would be remiss in not looking at some of those issues, and if the warming temperatures are going to create problems for us, because there have been a number of discussions regarding people who they're out there hunting and it's really, really hot. So, trying to address that. The other issue that if we don't address the next time, we still haven't really talked about, and that's the whole issue of the coyote contest. And I recognize that the coyotes are unprotected, but I would like for us to at least look at that issue and see if we do want to take a stand. I asked about this, many months ago, and nothing was ever done on it.
Okay, we'll definitely put it on the list. Other commissioner comments, questions? Okay, seeing none, this is an action item, so I'll move it out to any CAB or public comment here in Reno for number 19, future commission meetings. Seeing none, Las Vegas?
Not on this side. No comments from Vegas.
Okay, thank you. Any comments on item 19 from Elko?
No comments in Elko.
Okay, thank you. I'll bring it back to the commission. I don't think there's anything that requires a formal action, but is there any other discussion or questions at this time?
Yeah.
Commissioner Bliss?
Looking at policy 23, Director Wallesley's right. It says the draft plan shall be submitted to the commission during the February commission meeting. So that is something that's good here.
Appreciate the real time update. And I'll probably coordinate with you on the potential for a meet on a committee.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else? All right, seeing no comments or action, I will close agenda item 19, and I'll move to agenda item number 20, public comment period. Persons wishing to speak are requested to complete a speaker's card and present it to the recording secretary. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes. No action can be taken by the commission at this time. Any item requiring commission action may be scheduled on a future committee agenda. So public comment in Reno. Ms. Taylor, come on up. And if there's a couple of you that want to comment, please feel free to come up and we'll line you up and get you going.
Hello, Karen Taylor, Washoe County resident. I'm going to be speaking under 2 hats today. The first hat I'm going to speak under is as a board member of TrailSafe. The Trapping Regulation Committee still does not have a member of the non-trapping or non-NDOW community as a part of its makeup, and we are still very interested in having someone on the Trapping Regulation Committee who is not a sportsman, who's not a trapper, who's not a part of NDOW. Also, under TrailSafe hat here, something was mentioned by, I believe it was Mr. Dixon from Clark County yesterday regarding a conceptualized management plan that was mentioned regarding bringing together community members in southern Nevada to talk about trapping issues. It should be noted that TrailSafe in 2010 was working with the trappers, and they were working across the board and they were coming to various conclusions, and that got all screwed up by the then NDOW Commission, Board of Commissioners. So TrailSafe has always been very interested in having community members come together and continue that process, which actually started in 2010. I'm going to be speaking now under my own hat here as Karen Taylor, as a resident. I want to tell you a tale of 2 types of sportsmen that I see as a longtime Nevada resident since childhood, Nevada taxpayer, etc. So there are 2 types of sportsmen. A couple years ago, a deer hunter appropriately was hunting not that far from my community. I live in a suburban community in South Reno. And he wounded the animal, and the animal found its way into my neighborhood and plopped itself on one of my neighbor's front lawns, or front areas of her house. And the deer hunter was actually described as distraught. He was worried about the animal. He was worried about the community in which the animal found itself wounded and dying. He contacted NDOW. My neighbor obviously contacted NDOW. It was a process where the concerned, law-abiding hunter came together with the community and took care of this animal and took care of the problem. That's a sportsman as far as I'm concerned. Now I'm going to talk to you about another type of sportsman. We have trappers that lay out tons of miles of traps during the fall and the winter. These trappers are not concerned about animals. They're not concerned about the non-target animals. They're not concerned about their communities. They don't even want to follow the law. They sit in Topaz Joe's and brag about how they don't even make it out in a 96-hour period to go check their traps. Right now, as we sit here, we have animals that are in traps. They're being frostbitten. God forbid that they're being attacked by other animals while they sit in the traps. God forbid that you're a non-target animal and you're still alive. You're tossed off to the side to die a nice slow death, as was testified at the legislature 2 years ago by a woman who had saw trapping on her property and watched them just throw off the non-target animals off to the side. Contrary to what some of the comments are today, that trapping has gone by the wayside because of what happened in the election, that is incorrect. We are here. We're not going away. We're not going anywhere. There will be trapping issues that come up in this legislative session. I just want everyone to know that lazy sportsmen like trappers are not seen favorably by either party.
Next public comment. Mr. Moldy.
Mr. Chairman, I'm Moldy Green. Briefly, I want to compliment the department's law enforcement division on what looks to be excellent work. Judge on this recent story in the paper about the Facebook detective poaching ring. Kind of an interesting tale. And from what Director Wasley has just accounted to us in his activities report, it sounds like law enforcement is indeed busy going after some bad guys. So in recognition of their sterling efforts, I am planning to make another donation to the department directed to the law enforcement division for whatever use they can find of it. And will publicize my donation in hopes of achieving some others. Thank you.
Additional public comment in Reno? Seeing none, public comment in Las Vegas.
Yes, Chairman.
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chairman, this is Jana Wright. I just wanted to say thank you to Director Wasley for his update and giving me the impression that when it's feasible, that we will have video conferencing. And hopefully we can get the word out and attendance to increase, because I find this very informative and appreciate the effort and the ability to participate in the commission meetings. Thank you.
Chair Drew, this is Stephanie Myers, Lee Canyon in Las Vegas. I agree that we do need the video conferencing. I'm not sure why there's discussion as to not having it anymore, but it's very important that everybody in the state be able to participate in your meetings. Also, I wanted to second Karen Taylor's suggestion that we really do need a non-trapper on the Trapping Regulation Committee. There's been a lot of conflict. One of the ways that we can assuage some of the problems is to have someone from the non-trapping community be part of that Trapping Regulation Committee. Also, I second Karen Lane's request for some action on the part of the Wildlife Commission on coyote killing contests. Nevada really needs to take a stand on that. And also on trapping, not only in February should you talk about season limits, but you also need to talk about trap limits and bag limits for trapping, which has never been addressed by this commission. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Lori Marker. I'm from Las Vegas here. I'm new to Las Vegas. I've only been here for about a little over 18 months. And women are not at all represented on this board. Women are not represented at all in NDOW, and I think it's wrong. And I think as a newcomer here to the state, looking at the Nevada Wildlife Guide, this guide is wrong. It's too big. It's too cumbersome to read. I feel for newcomers that are coming here. They told me that I have to go to the offices to get training on this, because there's nothing about bonus points in here at all. Nothing. I'm supposed to be a newcomer and read this and know about bonus points? No, didn't know that. And I'd like to know more information about women with the supplemental, let me see, that Don Selton, the systems consultant, on page 79, he states man 1 and man 2. I mean, we need to have language that is gender neutral in our in our booklets, anything on the website, gender neutral. We need to have more statistics on women hunters. I'd like to know how many are out there, how many got this. If we can do that, that would be great. I'd like to hear more of this. Look for me in the coming years to be part of talking more about women in hunting. Thank you. That concludes our public comment in Las
That's everyone in
Vegas.
Vegas? Okay,
Yes.
thank you, Las Vegas. Any
Thank
public
you.
comment in Elko?
No comment in Elko.
Right, I'll give it one more shot in Reno. Any other public comment? If not, I'll adjourn the meeting and we'll be adjourned until February. Thank you.